Scary story time. So, if you guys are aware and you guys watched my story, I had mentioned that I was going to post this story of a nightmare that I had. So, with like all my stories, a lot of my memory is kind of like starting to catch up to speed just because I was in several accidents previous. One incident that slipped my mind was, just picture this, you're a child, right? And you know, your parents have always told you stories as to, well, be careful to not have your feet exposed over the bed before the monsters come and get your feet, or whatever the case may be, it may tickle your feet or whatever that is as well. So just imagine that you're a little kid, you're in your room by yourself, and you're afraid of the dark. In my case, I've always slept with a nightlight just because the incidents that I had from Okinawa all the way to Michigan, and everybody knows when you're in my house, there's nightlights everywhere, and sometimes they don't always work. So there was an incident when I was at my grandmother's house at her motel, and of course I probably want to say I was like 5 or 6, right, taking a nap at that age. And my mom or my grandma would be like, okay, you know, lay next to me and saying like, you know, you need to go to sleep, take a nap, and then we go here, whatever the case may be, just kind of bribe me, like say McDonald's or whatever, just to get my fat ass to sleep. So I'm sleeping, and I would be waking up with someone crawling into bed with me. But the thing is it wasn't necessarily a family member that would crawl in bed with me, it would be an entity. So there was one night where my grandma had said, go to bed, and I'll wake you up in a couple hours. I would always freak out. Because my grandma would always be in the kitchen, or she'd be, you know, probably making the rooms at the motel, and she would leave me alone in the room. So I think I've told a story where I would have that thing come out of her closet and it would crawl into bed with me. If you guys haven't found that story, it's somewhere hidden in this archives around here. I don't know which story that is in the video. It's kind of similar like that. So one day, I guess my parents were like kind of arguing, you know, they're in their, like, I want to say mid-20s, or they're in their early 20s, and they're arguing. And we were at our old condo, and they were just like kind of arguing, bickering over something little, right? I wake up and it's nighttime, and I hear my parents downstairs. And I always hated sleeping in my room just because I would always see things. And at a young age, you know, it just kind of freaked you out, like seeing things that you really can't explain. So I'm laying in my bed, and I remember my mom was sleeping on my right side and my dad was sleeping on my left side. And, you know, they're just kind of whispering, talking to each other as I'm falling asleep. They're like, okay, you know, go take a nap, or go. At this point, it was like, go to bed, just so I can go sleep in my room. And I hear my parents talking, like they're just kind of like talking to each other, whispering, and I'm like, you know, shh, be quiet, I'm trying to sleep. And my mom and my dad would be like, who are you telling to shush? And I'm like, you, go to sleep, you know, I'm trying to sleep. They're like, okay, fine, like, they'll just slowly kind of whisper, and I'm like, to me, that was just comfort, sleeping in between them on my comfortable ass bed. Next thing you know, I am having this weird feeling. It feels like your heart just comes up to your throat and just into your mouth, and it just drops back down into your stomach. And I'm laying there in my bed in the dark, and mind you, like, my head frame is one of those like old school bed frames where it has like the mirror and it has like the intricate like floral designs, if you guys know what I'm talking about. And I like the little frosted glass. That was my nightlight, and for some reason it wasn't on that night. So I wake up and I hear somebody crawling into bed with me, and I feel somebody like the back of me, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe it might be my dad. And I feel someone crawl into bed with me, and it was a female. And that was the weird thing. It felt like a female presence crawling into bed with me. And I'm getting goosebumps as I'm talking about this. So as I'm laying there, something tells me, put the blanket over your eyes and just be quiet. Mind you, I'm shaking like a fucking chihuahua at this point, because I'm like, who the fuck is this? Because it does not feel normal. I'm laying on my side, and I feel somebody against brushing against my back. It does not feel normal. It feels very strange. And then out of curiosity, something keeps telling me do not pull the blanket down, but out of curiosity, I pull the covers away from my eyes. I look over, and there is a haggard woman lying next to me. And it's not my mom. She's wearing all white. She looks like her clothes are tattered, and her hair is messed up. Like, kind of like thinking of like those Japanese folklores of like those yokais, of those women with like the frizzy, unruly hair, like, you know, just very haggard. And she's laughing. All I hear is like, she's just laughing and just laughing hysterically. And I'm like, oh shit, I can't move. I literally cannot move at this point. And she's laughing. And she goes, who do you think it was? And she had this big old smile, like from, like, when she smiled, it kind of reminded me of like that movie with Smile. But like her smile went all the way up, like almost towards like her cheekbone. And it was just so wide, and she's just laughing hysterically. And as you're looking at her, there's like that black mist, which is kind of like her aura. And she's like, and I'm just laying there. I'm like trying to breathe. I'm trying to scream. I can't move. I'm like freaking out. And something is brushing against my back. And I feel like these long fingers just brushing against my back. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm getting goosebumps because I can actually feel it. And I hear my parents, they're arguing downstairs. I don't know what it was. They were in the kitchen, and I'm trying to scream out for help. I'm like, I remember my mom, it was like, she raised me to be Catholic, so we're like, she's like, just say the Hail Mary, Our Father. So at that young age, I was trying to say Our Father or Hail Mary at the time, and it did not work. So I was like trying to push it. I was like, please God, please, you know, like if there's anybody that's like there listening to me, please help me. Like I'm so scared right now. I don't even know what to do. And the moment I prayed, the old woman that was laying next to me, she was like, she just started laughing harder and harder. And I called out for my mom. I was like, Mommy, Daddy. They both came running up the stairs. I was able to like break free from what it was. And I see the woman, like, she went from laying down next to me to standing in the corner of the room, in the darkest part of the room, and she started cackling really, really loud. And I ran out to my mom and my dad, and I said, can I sleep with you tonight? And they said, why? I said, because I cannot sleep in that damn room. I was like, the woman is here, and she's not letting me sleep. And my mom and dad look at me and they're like, who are you? And my mom looks at my dad and said, could it possibly be the woman from Japan that followed us? So I freaked out even more because I heard that. My mom was, oh, don't worry, you know, you can go ahead and sleep with us. So I go to sleep with them one night, and it's fine, perfectly fine, right? And I've always had this incident where I would always have someone crawl into bed with me. It would either be male or female, really weird presence, just lower type of energy. And I would always feel like someone is like laying next to me, and I would always cover my eyes. I would always hear someone say, cover your eyes, do not open them. I'd always beg my mom or my dad or my grandma, like, can I sleep in between you guys or sleep in the same vicinity of you guys? Because it was just that uncomfortable. So if you guys like the story, go ahead and hit the like button, as well as comment and let me know if you guys have anything that you experienced before. I'm going to go ahead and post a part 2 because it gets a little bit more creepier.